Welcome to the Friday Happy Hour with victory strategist, award-winning author and your happy hour host, Annmarie Kelly. Each week, Annmarie chats with women who have reinvented, started over or wrote fabulous next chapters. They share how they overcame their midlife challenges and how you can too. So kick back with some good happy hour something to drink and enjoy today's show.
Welcome. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour with me, Annmarie Kelly, and I'm that recovering good girl and your victorious woman empowerment partner. And this is where us victory chicks and you men who care about us meet on Fridays to chat about things we can do to overcome our challenges, get empowered, and make our lives sparkle. And thanks for joining me again for Happy Hour. We're coming to the end of summer, so it's sort of like freaky at this point. It's August and it went way too fast. And we have some good stuff today. As usual, we're talking about wealth, and not about money or investing, but specifically your personal code for wealth. Did you even know there was such a thing? Well, Prema Lee Gurreri, it says that there is, and she's at Happy Hour today to help you figure yours out, your wealth code. So that'll be after the break. And I have a 5-year marriage update. I think I told you that I had problems with editing and I hired a new editor. And today I got the first piece of editing back from her and I like what she did. It's only been through about 17 edits, so it really should be at the very end. But I will tell you this. I get nervous because sometimes something always seems to get missed. And I remember a couple of times when I was doing corporate training when I did some marketing pieces and checked them multiple times for typos. And Joseph would check them, and a couple colleagues would read them. And even with all of that, sometimes, well, it happened to me twice, I looked at those well-edited pieces a few years later and still found typos. So I'm doing my best with the editing and then kissing the typos up to God. Yeah, you know how we do? Well, at least I do it that way. If some food falls on the floor at home, I'll pick it up, kiss it up to God, and then eat it. Okay, maybe you call it the 5-second rule. But you know what? Did you know that scientists studied that 5-second rule and found out that it's actually one of those things that's true? It really is okay to still eat if it only hits the floor for 5 seconds. Of course, the scientists say there are caveats to that, and it's pretty interesting. Like carpet's better than hardwood floors, and you know they had a whole bunch of caveats. In fact, I posted 2 articles about what the scientists say on that 5-second rule in today's radio wrap up at victoriouswoman.com. Say, hasn't it been a crazy week in the news? You know, all this stuff with Korea has people on edge. Now, I don't know about you, but I really didn't know much about Korea, except that there was a Korean War in the 1950s. I don't even remember studying it in school, at least not much past that there was a Korean War. And I thought it ended with, you know, like a win or a treaty or like wars are supposed to end. But you know what? It didn't. So I didn't know that Korea was ruled by Japan until the end of World War II when Japan surrendered. And what happened next seems to me to be pretty complicated, which sort of explains why it's such a mess. It seems that 3 years later, in 1948, Korea was split into the North and the South. And it was split. The split was determined by the 38th parallel. And until I looked it up, I've heard the 38th parallel thing, but I didn't know its significance. So the North 38 parallel, it's 38 whatever degrees or whatever from the equator. And there's a north and a south. And the 38th parallel north goes across the U.S., Europe, Russia, and right through the center of Korea. Now, it was supposed to be a temporary split, the countries, at that time in 1948, but obviously it wasn't. So as best as I can understand, the Soviets were involved with the North and the U.S. with the South. And the North Korean guy who was in charge then, Kim Il-sung, is the grandfather of the guy who's in charge today. He wanted to take over South Korea, but he had to get the okay from the head of the then Soviet Union, which at that time was Joseph Stalin. Now, and then what happened next is like so confusing. General MacArthur was running the show in Korea, and then President Truman fired him. And then China got involved with North Korea. The UN got involved. But in the end, there was no real war, and there was no real end to the war. That is, there was no treaty or any agreement between like the North and South Korean governments or between anybody. All there was an armistice that stopped the fighting. And that North Korean leader, Kim Il-sung, never stopped believing that he should have power over all Korea. And it was the U.S. that was in his way. Well, that guy stayed in power until he died in 1994. Then his son, Kim Jong-il, stepped into his place. When he died in 2011, his son, the current guy, Kim Jong-un, took over. But because there was no treaty or real armistice at the end of the Korean War, both Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-un renounced that armistice. Between the two of them, 6 times. That was since 1994. Anyway, those guys, Kim Jong-un, wants one Korea, and it's a communist Korea. So that Kim family, father, son, grandson, have all hated the United States. And that's how we are, I think, where we are today. You know, it's like we're still fighting a war in Korea because it was never settled. It's very complicated. And then I understood, you know, as I was reading, I read, and I thought, I just don't get this. But what makes it crazy for us now is that the second Kim guy cut a deal with President Clinton that enabled North Korea to get on a path to get nukes. And apparently neither Bush nor Obama after him did anything to tamp that down. Except I think President Obama sent more troops to South Korea. But basically, both of those presidents kicked the can down the road. And so here we are. Happily, though, our allies now are being vocal and standing with us and with the U.S. and against Korea. So that's encouraging. And hopefully it will all get calmed down over the next week or so. So I'm looking forward to that getting calmed down. But what I don't think needs to be calmed down is the buzz about LaDainian Tomlinson's Hall of Fame speech this past week. Did you hear it? You know, football isn't my sport, so I didn't even know who LaDainian Tomlinson or LT, as he's called by, I guess, everybody but me. Well, he played for the San Diego Chargers. So you guys know this, and some of you victory chicks. He played for the San Diego Chargers and the New York Jets. But I wouldn't have known that. But I know him now for his powerful Hall of Fame acceptance speech. LT thanked people, including his mother, who was a single parent and a preacher, and in the audience, she was looking so proud. And then he touched on unity, immigration, goals, and hard work. In fact, they showed his mother laughing when he talked about how when he was 12, he asked for a set of weights for Christmas so he could bulk up, because he had to bulk up to be able to get into the NFL. And he talked about using our skills to create opportunities for ourselves. I think I like that part the best because too many times I find people looking to other people to give them things like work opportunities. And I'm not talking about young kids either. I know the millennials get tagged with that kind of attitude, but they aren't the only ones. I know too many people, and I'll bet you do too, who won't do anything to ratchet up their skills and get better at what they do, but they still want to be fed clients or given perks or have doors opened to opportunities for them, instead of figuring out how to open and walk through those doors themselves. He also talked about being mixed race, this LT football player. but how the Tomlinson name came from his great-great-grandfather, who took the name of his slave owner, his great-great-grandfather. And of course, LT said his ancestor didn't have a choice about anything, but that we, all of us, have a choice to bring about positive change, and that we do it by being a good team. He called it Team America. And, he got a standing ovation in the middle of his speech. In fact, I think he might have gotten 2 standing ovations. Well, then LaDainian Tomlinson ended his acceptance speech in a way that every good speaker knows is the best way to end a speech, with a fiery call to action. I always like that part in any speech. It's like it starts out, has good stuff, then it builds up to this crescendo, and then he ended it with this call for unity and renewed purpose based on the highest ideals of mankind, and for us to be leading the way for all nations to follow. I loved it. And, I wish as a country that Team America thing that he was talking about, and that's what he called it, Team America, that we could find some things that we could get on the same page about instead of the constant division and divisiveness that we seem to have all the time now. Well, if you get a chance, take a listen. I posted a link on today's radio wrap-up at victoriouswoman.com. So listen, LT isn't the only one who's focusing on purpose. Prema Lee Gurreri is too. Let me tell you why I invited Prema to join our happy hour. So many times we get to midlife, and we Victory Chicks have done all the good girl things, and, you guys, you do all the expected stuff. And now we wonder if we're getting to that stage where we're saying, did we fulfill our purpose? And also, if we have enough money to live comfortably into retirement, that starts to become an issue too. Well, Prema Lee Gurreri is committed to creating a world where every person is empowered to living on purpose according to their soul blueprint. Interesting, huh? I want her to share some of her tips with you. So, Prema Lee is here. You go get some good happy hour, something to drink. And when we come back, we'll be with Prema Lee Gurreri. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour.
Remember when you wished you had more time for yourself? And now you have it, but you notice you're keeping busy with stuff, but that stuff isn't making you feel happy or filled up? And when you think about what would make you happy and filled up, you get stuck or feel overwhelmed. And then you go back to what's more familiar, more comfortable, even if it's not making you happy. Wouldn't you love to find a way to start making sense of that deep discontent you're feeling? Well, you're not alone. I'm Annmarie Kelly, author, victory strategist, and the radio show host of the Friday Happy Hour. And I know there's a place for you, one that other women have found to be both inspirational and empowering, and it's the Victorious Woman Project. Go there now and get on my mailing list, where you'll be the first to know about my upcoming online workshops, teleseminars, and more. And while you're there, take a couple minutes to look over my blog. You can download some of the free stuff I have for you and let it get your creative juices going. I'm looking forward to meeting you at the Victorious Woman Project. And that's at www.victoriouswoman.com.
Welcome back to the Friday Happy Hour. I'm Annmarie Kelly, and with me today is Prema Lee Gurreri. Welcome to Happy Hour, Prema Lee.
Hi, I'm thrilled to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm thrilled that you're here. Prema, I think almost all of us would like to be wealthy. Maybe not Oprah wealthy, but wealthy enough. And last week, I talked to a woman in her, I think she was in her late 60s or early 70s, and she said she was looking at her future and knows she doesn't have enough money to live to 100. And not that she will live that long, but if she does, she can't afford it. And then I thought, well, first of all, it got me thinking about my own finances, but I never thought about whether I had enough money to live, and it kind of scared me, especially since I don't have kids to take care of me when I get old. But you say there's this sacred wealth code, and it has to do with unlocking our soul's blueprint, and that if we do that, then we never have to worry about that kind of stuff. What is that, and how did you come to figure it out?
All right. So your sacred wealth code is, let me actually talk about your soul blueprint for a minute. So when I say your soul blueprint, there's a lot of different ways to access your soul blueprint, and I believe everybody is connected to it. I mean, this is soul choices you've made on a soul level, and your intuition, whether you're aware of intuition or not, helps you to be connected. But those inner nudges you get, that still small voice. Well, I use a tool called Vedic Astrology. It's actually a science and an art. And through Vedic Astrology, there is actually a specific aspect or combinations of aspects that we look at to help someone understand how on a soul level they are, wired up, encoded for wealth. And the unique thing is that everybody is encoded for wealth in a way that's meaningful to them personally. And the worldview of wealth may be different. So I help people to really first even understand, what is wealth even to them? And how I came upon this wealth code is, again, it's a scientific principle that then I took to a few different levels. In Vedic astrology, it's called Dana Yoga, and it's one of the Raja Yogas. And I'm not going to geek out on you all and tell you all exactly, those astrology aspects.
Right.
But after looking at charts for so long and delving into my own work and my own life and working with people who are always coming about, where's the money and what's my work in the world, where's my purpose? And what happened is I went through a transformation. At the time, it felt like everything in my life was falling apart. I had a big, beautiful yoga and healing arts center. I was a yoga teacher for many years, spiritual coach. I was doing the Vedic astrology work. I was training teachers. I had practitioners who worked for me at the center. This was a really big, beautiful center. It had a high overhead, and it was a six-figure in sales business, but I wasn't taking a lot of that home. And through about 4.5 years, I had that center and closed it down after trying to sell it and get a partner and trying to resurrect it at the end. Although my clients thought everything was fine, I just didn't have very much money, and I was wearing out, and even my relationship fell apart during that time. My marriage fell apart, and so I ended up single parenting, and I really was brought to what I call the dark night of my soul. And most of us have been in a dark night of our soul at some point, or will be.
Sure.
And this is where everything just sort of crumbles around us, and we can't quite put the pieces together, and we're really called to sit quiet with ourselves, to go deep inside, and to realign with what's really true for us. And that's exactly what I did. I just vowed that I'm just going to figure out what was wrong, because I really felt like I was on purpose in my yoga center. So why didn't it succeed, and why was I in this position, and why was my heart and my soul hurting? So I dug into my spiritual practice.
Prema, let me stop you for a second. I think that happens a lot of times, that we have a goal and we achieve that goal, and then it doesn't fill us up.
Right.
We think, well, like you said with your yoga practice, you thought that you were living on purpose, that this was what in your soul that you were supposed to be doing. But I think that happens a lot of times where we just don't, it just doesn't fill us up. And how can that, don't you ever think, how could that be? I thought I was doing the right thing.
Yeah, and we have to, one of the reasons that it happens is because even though we might, what is the right thing? Is this what my husband wanted me to do? And partly it was, to tell you the truth. Was it what the cultural conditioning, and the beliefs that I don't even know about that I've taken on is pressing me to do, keeping up with the Joneses? Whatever it might be. But is it really my heart and soul's truth to be doing what I'm doing? And that's why, like you're saying, a lot of people find that, now I've got that office on the corner, and I'm looking out the window wondering, whose life am I living? And that's
right.
Why my work that's what drove me to the work that I do in the Sacred Wealth Code, because the Sacred Wealth Code came out of that dark night of the soul for me, and we wanted to figure this out. And what I figured out was that your highest value gifts are really what your Sacred Wealth Code is. And it was stemmed off of this Dana Yogas and Vedic Astrology. And what I realized is I was working from part of what I was just good at my center, that wasn't the teaching part. I was administrating, I was running the whole business, and I'm great at business. I'm a business coach along with a Vedic astrologer, but I didn't need to do all of the administration and everything, so I was doing things I'm good at that wasn't in my brilliance, that wore me out and kept me from then expanding into this sacred wealth code work. The beautiful thing is that even if you find yourself at a destination in life that you don't feel like you signed up for, if you're willing then to ask the deep questions, and that's exactly why I wrote my book, Your Sacred Wealth Code, ask the deep questions to get really clear and clean with yourself, you will get the answers, or you will be pointed in the right direction to where the answers are for you. So the Sacred Wealth Code was birthed out of that time. I saw where I was even on part of the shadow side of my wealth code. And I did the work to clear my beliefs. And I have to be honest, the more we expand and grow, I still bump up into things I need to clear my energy around. And I do it, and I course correct and keep on going. So I'm grateful for that experience. But at that time, I let go of my center. I went into private practice. I raised my rates considerably, and I only attracted people who actually wanted to do this deep and profound work with me over a very committed period of time, which suited not only my finances much better, but it suited the transformational work that I'm really here to do. It gave me an opportunity to really dig in and change lives in a way that is meaningful for me, but also has a bigger impact.
So that's what you call soul-driven.
Absolutely.
And so how do we know that if our soul is speaking to us? You know, what's the difference between like this goal that I set this goal, I achieve this goal, and then it doesn't fill me up. So that's not soul driven. What's the difference between the two of those? Yeah.
So the difference, the listening to our soul is, I access the soul through the heart. There's lots of ways the soul speaks to us, but we do feel our intuition. We do feel our soul nudges. We do feel the way our soul is wanting to drive us. We do feel it if we pay attention. So it's good to actually be in our bodies. I believe that it's a real soul-to-soul experience, like soul all the way down to the soles of our feet. We have to actually integrate all the way through. When we choose a goal that, let's say, okay, I want to make $100,000. That's a mind goal. And if we really tune into our hearts, and what does our heart want for us around wealth or finances? We may get the same answer, but we might get a different answer. The tuning into our heart is going to be the soul-driven answer. The mind is going to give us, okay, I want that next job, or I want the $100,000, or whatever it might be. Now, if we have to continue to tune in with our inner guidance from listening to our soul, but a lot of times soul-driven is that idea that drops in that it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, but it feels right. When you're going for a goal, and I don't even like to use the word goal to tell you the truth. I prefer touchstone or I prefer a soul goal, actually. So when you're going after a goal, your mind is on that goal, but it doesn't mean the rest of your energy, the rest of your heart and deep desire and will and divine will is aligned with that as well. So it means you're aligned with not only what your heart, what your soul wants, and you're bringing that all the way through, which I call it living inside out. Goals tend to be outside in. Oh, so-and-so says I should be doing this. According to being able to live where I want to live, I need to do this or make this much money. I want to have that kind of recognition, so I must have this particular kind of job. Those are all outside in.
So if my why is that I want to, make $100,000, you say that could be a mind goal versus a soul goal, right? And and you're using the word touchstone.
And actually let's just do it one step further because it'll clear it up. So how do we turn that into a soul goal or get your soul on board for that? Okay, so, and that's back in the first part of my book where I help you create your wealth dream. It's like, okay, well, why do I want that wealth? Why is that important to me? What's that going to do for me, make possible for me? When we get into those deep answers, which is in the first chapter of your Sacred Wealth Code, then you know why. And if you know why, you have purpose. And you've got deeper meaning. Otherwise, the $100,000 doesn't have a meaning. So if we know that we want that, maybe so that we can help our grandkids go through school, or buy a new home in a particular area that we want to live because we want to be in that community. That's where we'd feel really at home, or we could be better do the work that we do. We bring that why into it, and when we bring deeper meaning, we're always bringing the soul into it.
So the why. With the why, it's when you. So what you're saying is, when you discover your true why, your motivation changes.
Yes, and in fact, there's a big difference between motivation and inspiration, and it becomes inspired. And motivation, unfortunately, tends to run out. We have to keep fueling the fire of motivation, and sometimes it can be like pushing a boulder uphill. But inspiration is never. It's in spirit. I mean, it's never ending. You can't exhaust inspiration, even though it may wane at times if you're not in alignment.
Okay, so when I get to my correct why, then I am more likely to keep going even when the times get tough, because I like my why.
Yeah, you like your why, and we're actually even as we're talking about this, we're speaking into the first pillar of the pillars, which we can talk about a little later. But if you think of why as equals purpose, why am I going to the grocery store? Well, I'd really like to have some vegetables with my dinner tonight, and we need some. Okay. Why am I going to work today? Well, I'm going to work because I want to pay my bills. That's not a really great why. I'm going to work. I mean, it is to a certain extent, and I don't mean to discount anybody who's going to work who doesn't like their job to pay their bills. I think we need to take personal responsibility and do what we need to do. But when you are going to work because it's really for the sake of your own growth, and you're interested in what you're doing, and you feel it's a good contribution, and yes, it pays your bills as well. That's a nice deep why. But whatever we're doing, I'm going out for a run. Why am I doing that? Because I want to take really good care of my body and need some cardio today. I've got the purpose of it. When we don't have purpose, and you see this with children a lot of times when they say, why? Why? Why do I have to do that? And if we actually give them the real reason, that a purpose that would make sense to them, will connect the dots. Because why is that purpose, and purpose will always pull us forward.
And that's true. Your example with the little kids is true. Like when they keep asking why, and you can give them like a reason, and it makes sense in their heads. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So that why equals purpose. So but then let's take it to another level. If your why for going to your running your business or going to your job today is very much also an expression and connected to your deeper why of what you feel your purposeful path is in the world, then we take purpose even deeper. So, the deeper we take it, the more meaning it gives things. And when we feel like, think about it, like when you go into a room full of people, and, have you ever been to an event or anything, and you go, I don't really even know why I'm here. And then you might have also gone to an event or a party or something where you know exactly why you're there, where you really feel connected in. It has a whole different feeling.
All right. Interesting. Prema, we need to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. So everybody stay close, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour.
Hi, this is Annmarie Kelly, author, victory strategist, and the radio show host of the Friday Happy Hour. I trust you're enjoying my conversation with this fabulous, victorious woman. If you're getting inspired with ideas and feeling empowered, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's more for you. Tips, downloads, resources at the Victorious Woman Project. Go to victoriouswoman.com and look around and get on my mailing list so you can be the first to know about the newest good things I have for you. That's www.victoriouswoman.com.
back to the Friday Happy Hour. I'm Annmarie Kelly, and I'm here with Prema Lee Gurreri. And Prema, we were talking about our why, and one of the things that you recommend is creating a wealth vision statement. And now, can you tell us what that is?
Yeah. So it's this is very much the first pillar in your Sacred Wealth Code, and that is to really discover why it is you want the wealth you want. So for everybody listening in, if you could just, think of some wealth that you want right now, whether it's a certain amount of money, whether it's a home, whether it's, a certain money you want to travel or support someone or a material item you want to buy. And then we'll just ask the simple question, and we'll do it this way. Just close your eyes, put your hand on your heart unless you're driving, and simply let this question drop into your heart. Why do I want this? Why is this important to me?
I think, and you know what, Prema, I think that's a really good question, because sometimes when you figure out the reason why, it doesn't really hold water, do you know? Exactly. Or you realize that's not the wealth you want. So when I really help you create your whole wealth vision, like I do in the book and also do in my Sacred Wealth Circle, we dig into it pretty deeply of what's all the wealth that you want to create. Like we're going to do a collage or do a vision board, and I use that as a metaphor, but what is the wealth that you want? How do you want to feel? That's really important. And then we can say, okay, why is that important to me? I want to support my grandkids going through college because I want them to have a better, have a really great education to help make our world a better place. Or I want them to have an opportunity I didn't have. That would really fulfill me up. It feels good. So when you get that, you want to get that deeper why. And it's a really great thing of anything you want to create wealth for or even purchase. You say, why do I really want this? Because have you ever brought things home that you realize later on you're just pushing around, you didn't even really want it? Yeah, it's those impulse buys, huh?
Yeah, and those impulse buys are because everything we do, it's because we want to feel a particular way. And those impulse buys are so that we can have a particular feeling. That's, we do that with food, we do that with substances, we do that with material items, we do that with people. So when you know how you want to feel, and that is also connected to your why, you can start giving yourself experiences. So one of my big whys for wealth is freedom. It always has been. Wealth gives me the freedom, when I go down to the essence of it, to support whoever I want to support, to travel where I want to go, to live on the water and look at the mountains like I do, I love to, I'm Italian too, I love to cook for people in my home. It gives me the opportunity to donate money where I want to spend money on growing my business. It gives me freedom. That's the core of it. So the more experiences of freedom I build into my life that make me feel free, like walking down through the forest to the beach today allows me to feel very free. Well, then I'm in that energy of that why I want wealth. And it's interesting. That's one of the ways that we can go ahead and give us that desire, and it helps us stay on course for what's really in alignment for us and stop this bouncing back and forth of unconsciously getting these emotional hits, so to speak, of some things that really don't serve us.
So I see. So if freedom is, it must be the Italian, Prema, because freedom is like a big one for me too.
Yeah.
But so you're saying, so your vision statement would be, would it be as simple as I want to be free, or would it be I want to be free so that I can go to the mountains when I feel like it, or that I can do, whatever freedom is?
Yeah. It depends on the person. I really like to drill it down, and so and for most people, it's not going to be just freedom and maybe joy, or it's okay if they don't get down to that sort of root word, but you do want to get down to like the essence of it. And then it's really great, the part you just added, so that I can. That's really great, because it's a really good reminder of, again, now we're taking and weaving purpose back in. Why do I want the freedom? We're kind of circling back around.
Mm-hmm. So I can see that, you know what, Prem, I was just thinking this, because in the kind of work that I do, if I drill down, if I had like a whole page and freedom, I want, if it was I want to become wealthy because wealth is freedom, and then I have like 20 things, then really all I have to do is keep like the word freedom around, like in different places, and every time I see it, it connects me to all of those things.
Exactly. You've got it, my dear. That's exactly right. So we want to keep things really simple for ourselves. And then when we're talking about purpose, as far as your sacred wealth code, there's 4 pillars, and so I want to just weave that together because we've really covered it here. And you can think of your sacred wealth code as being an intersection of one road is purpose and one road is prosperity. That purpose is that why, right? And there's a reason for you to get to that intersection. And that's what when you know that reason that you want that wealth, which we just really talked about, and that's super, super important. That gets you, that's the reason to stay on course for that freedom. You need to have that.
So, and purpose and passion are 2 of your 4 pillars. But before we talk about that, Prem, I want to ask you this. You talk about a wealth in your book. You talk about a wealth user's guide. Now, how do I and my listeners get one of those?
So your wealth user's guide is very much your sacred wealth code. Okay, and through the book, I take you through a self-discovery process, because it's very much of a journal, and it's a guidebook, and there's stories in there, and there's process. So by going through that, you connect with your sacred wealth code archetypes, which really holds your highest value gift. And your wealth user's guide is within you, it's in your soul blueprint, and it is your highest value gifts you have. And you want to use those highest value gifts as much as possible, because then you're living at that intersection of purpose and prosperity. You're living at that intersection where your sacred wealth code is, and that's where more of the opportunities come in. That's where, your right vocation will be more available to you, the connections that you need to make, all of those things. So your wealth user's guide is unique to you. And again, it's encoded in your sacred wealth code. It's in your soul blueprint. Now, through the book, I do that self-discovery process. I also do sacred wealth code readings where I go ahead and give it to you, so to speak. And then the next step is learning how to use it so that you can drive yourself from the soul-driven place and create the wealthy life that really is meaningful to you.
You know, Prem, I got a kick out of that where you just said it, that you had about using it. It's like how many times you get something and then you have it and you think it's like by osmosis, you're going to get the benefits of it without actually drilling down and using it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I have to tell you that, most of the people that I work with, almost all the people I work with, we do some work together, because it's not my purpose just to give information, because we have too much information as it is. But I want to help you to make use of that information and embody it, live from your soul down to the soles of your feet. So if I help you understand what your soul is wanting for you, your soul blueprint, then I also am here, because I'm wired up on 4 levels, then to help you learn how to connect in with it for yourself, to help you tune in with your deep inner guidance, to help you clear the blocks and barriers, the roadblocks that keep you from that, and then to take the real actions in the world that will actualize that for you. So I like to work all the way through with people, because that's what my purpose is, and that's what gives me a lot of meaning and joy in my life. Because, we've all had tons of information goes in one ear, out the other, or we've got blocks that keep us from being able to actualize that information. And I don't think that's such a gift, to give someone just a piece of information they can't use.
Prema, we have to go for another break, but when we come back, I want to talk more about that, and I'd like to talk. You talked about 2 of the 4 pillars, purpose and passion. Let's talk about those high value gifts and talents when we come back.
Sure.
Okay, everybody, stay close. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour.
Are you one of those women who lived the first part of your life as a really good girl? That is, you did all the right things and followed all the so-called rules for women. I was like that too. But have you noticed that once you passed 40, you have less patience for those rules? Maybe you even think that the rules really don't make sense for you anymore. Maybe they never did and you just didn't realize it. Do you want to go where other recovering good girls meet to inspire each other and support their new empowered selves? Then join me, Annmarie Kelly, and some very fabulous victorious women. We're on Facebook at the Victorious Woman Project. So go to facebook.com/Victorious Woman Project. I'll talk to you there.
Welcome back to the Friday Happy Hour. I'm Annmarie Kelly, and I'm here with Prema Lee Gurreri. And Prema, we were talking about the two of the four pillars, purpose and passion. And then we talked about, I wanted to talk about the high-value gifts and talents, because how is it, and I think women are really, I think this is really a big deal with a lot of women. How do we know what our high-value gifts are?
Yeah, and that's really the core of your Sacred Wealth Code. So your Sacred Wealth Code will actually give it to you. And so let me just walk us into this. So at the junction of your purpose and prosperity, that's where your Sacred Wealth Code lives, that intersection there. And then your purpose is the vehicle that's going to get you there, that big why. Your passion is the fuel. You need to be in your passion regularly. So you've got the energy, basically. You've got the fuel to get that vehicle of purpose to that intersection. And imagine your high-value gifts are the houses that live on the corners of that intersection. And you want to spend as much time in those houses as possible. So the more time you spend using your high-value gifts, you're tuned in to your Sacred Wealth Code, whether you're fully aware of it or not. Now, there's in the book, I take you through some practices and with my clients on how to connect with your highest value gifts. Let me just make the distinction between the things that you're good at and the things you will be most valued for in the world. Most of the things we're good at, not all, but a lot of them we've been told we're good at, or they're skills we've developed. But is it really something that makes our heart sing? I'm really a great administrator. I have a leader archetype, and an administrator is a particular kind of leader. It's not in my wealth code. I'm a great organizer, facilitator, but that's not my highest value gift. I've been hired for those gifts. I used to work for a personal growth company, coaching, but also I organized and ran the coaches. People like me for that structure piece in me. That's not my highest value. I'm good at it. Really, my highest value is the wisdom that I bring through, the fact that I'm an intuitive and I can bring it down into practical guidance, my leadership abilities. And my highest value is different, and when I was able to step out of the things that, I still do those things, but not primarily and not so much in the work that I'm doing in the world. I have an exquisite person on my team that does that part, so that I can stay more in my brilliance. So how do you know? We've got to ask some deep questions. We need to, first, if you just start to reflect on, and there's an exercise in the book about this, about the things that maybe when you were a kid that you just did naturally, that you don't do anymore. In fact, I was asking in one of my groups, my free Sacred Wealth Code community on Facebook, which is anybody's welcome to join, that I was asking that question about gifts that maybe have been lying dormant. And someone was saying, well, when I was a kid, I used to draw fashion designs all the time. I used to sew and draw fashion designs. And I really haven't been connected with that for a long time. I'm going to go spend some time. I kind of forgot and it's still a passion when I think about it. So there's things that you have done that have gone by the wayside that maybe someone told you, you can't make money at that, or it just wasn't nurtured. And then there's things that you maybe are doing and that people always come to you for, but you give them away for free. You take them for granted. You don't even realize this is such a valuable gift. Maybe you're an amazing problem solver. I see this with a lot of my change work with clients. They're great empaths, intuitives, creatives, these kinds of gifts that we can't necessarily put a finger on, or society doesn't necessarily value as much. Those tend to get hidden, but they're high-value gifts, and they can be used in many different ways. So we've got to ask some deep questions. And one of the questions that you're going to ask is, like, what do you geek out on? Like, that you just are so interested about, you just learn about all the time. Chances are that maybe you're using some of your gifts, but you haven't put the value on some of the gifts that you have. So when you discover your sacred wealth code, or I give it to you, each archetype holds a body of gifts, and you get to decide which ones out of all these gifts really are the ones that you have. And I even teach you how to tune in to connect with some that maybe aren't even listed there.
So it's so funny that you're saying that, because I'm thinking about somebody that I worked with a little bit this week, and she has some really high value gifts, but I don't think she even sees them as gifts. It's who she is, what she does, and it benefits a lot of people. But and how I know this premise, that I gave her a compliment about it, and she just brushed it off. She said, "Oh, that wasn't anything." And right. A lot of times as women, we do that. It's because it's what we do. It's like no big deal to us, but it's a big deal to somebody else. But we don't put that value on it. Don't you think?
I totally agree with you, and that's why I say it's a lot of times. So here, for me, I'm an intuitive. I use Vedic Astrology because it's incredible, a science that I can use my art with, and I can get really specific about some things, like the Sacred Wealth Code. But I've always been an intuitive, and people have always come to me for that. And when I was young, it kind of freaked my mom out. It's not like I was walking around, predicting the future, but I was really tapped in and super sensitive. So that's something people have come to me always for. And for a long time, I was a lot of people's best kept secret. I had clients, and I still have clients that I've had for years. And until I really owned that gift by really stepping into my Sacred Wealth Code and claiming it and saying, yes, this is a gift that I have, and not only do I use it behind the scenes, but I'm actually declaring that I use it and how I can help you with it. And that's when my wealth up-leveled considerably, is when I came out of the closet with that gift.
That's interesting. I think that's important for a lot of my listeners to really get a handle on, because I think it happens way too many times, and not just my victory checks, but you guys too. Because we do it, and the example I'm thinking of right now is my spouse is a top-notch massage therapist. It comes easy to him. He's really good at it. He tunes in really easily. And when he started hiring people in his practice, Prema, he thought everybody could do what he did. And it took a long time for him to realize not everybody can do what he does, or the way that he does it. Everybody can do massage, but not he's intuitive about it. So that's a really big deal. And sometimes we don't think about that.
Right, we don't think about that, and especially, like I said, the gifts that are a little more on the subtle side, where society isn't like putting a big price tag on them. So it's when we start to own those gifts, and in the discovery process, and again, I have a few more processes in the book, but the whole idea is to take you into some places maybe you're overlooking, and then I'd like you to hone in on what's the top 5 gifts after kind of getting some lists of gifts down and things you remember and that you geek out on. And another one is what things you love to do all day long, and don't worry about if you ever got paid for it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's really an important thing to be able to figure that out. I mean, it could be cooking, it could be baking, it could be chatting with people and make it, and they feel so good after they chat with you. Yeah,
absolutely.
Prema, we're going to have to get ready to go, but and we don't have time. You have a whole series of these wealth archetypes, and we don't have time to talk about them. Could you at least tell my listeners what they are?
Yeah. So there is 23 archetypes that are a body of archetypes, and each planet has 3, and then there's North and South, North, and Moon. And here's the beautiful thing about the archetypes. They're a soul language. Archetypal language is soul language. So I can say to you, the leader, the teacher, the merchant, the advocate, the great nurturer, and you have a sense, like a whole little story that just went off. Now, what's different about the Sacred Wealth Code archetypes is literally they were downloaded to me. I mean, they came through. I started to teach my clients not just what their gifts were, but these archetypes, because the description of them will be specific to purpose and prosperity. As you read one of these archetypes, you'll start to, it'll say, you might be very good at this in these situations, and you might have never thought about that before. Here's how you're valuable to others and can be more valuable. There's also a shadow side. And we didn't talk about the 4th pillar, but that's your greatest challenges, the unexpected gateway to wealth. Some of our greatest gifts are right next to our greatest challenges. So in the Sacred Wealth Code archetypes, it's like your guides, basically, your Sacred Wealth Code guides. They're aspects of you, and you learn how this relationship with them and embody gifts that it'll wake you up to dormant parts of yourself. And the archetypes are incredibly fun, but they're also incredibly powerful.
Well, Prem, we need to go, but tell my listeners how they can get a copy of the Sacred Wealth Code.
Yeah, you can. The book is on Amazon, but you can also go to sacredwealthcode.com. And when you go to sacredwealthcode.com, you can grab the book and you can grab some great free gifts. I did a masterclass. There's a bunch of meditations that go along with the book. You can also just go there and take the free Sacred Wealth Code archetype quiz and find out what are the archetypes. And anything else you'd want from me there, readings, programs, it's all there, sacredwealthcode.com.
That's great. Thank you, Prema. I look forward to talking with you again.
Okay, take care. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you came. And to you Victory Chicks and you guys, I hope you have a good weekend planned. This weekend, well, you might remember last weekend was Joseph's birthday, so this weekend I'm taking him it was a surprise. He ruined the surprise by Wednesday, but he was still excited about it. He didn't ruin it. He was trying to make plans for this weekend for something we have to do, work stuff, and I kept saying, I can't do it. And then finally I had to tell him why we couldn't do all these things he was wanting to do. So, and I'll tell you about it next week. But what we're doing is we're going to Wildwood, and Elvis is going to be there. Elvis is going to be in Wildwood this weekend. He didn't die. He's going to be in Wildwood. Now, I'm not one of those conspiracy theorists with Elvis, but it's the 40th anniversary of Elvis's death. So if you're an Elvis fan, I'm sure you know that. And I'll tell you more about it next week. And we're wrapping up today. I'm heading for the beach. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Anne Frank, who said, "Human greatness does not lie in wealth or power, but in character and goodness. People are just people, and all people have faults and shortcomings, but all of us are born with a basic goodness." That's all of us, Victory Chicks and you guys. Thanks for coming today. Come back next Friday for the Friday Happy Hour, and have a victorious weekend. Jen's on.
Thanks for listening to this Friday Happy Hour. Make sure you subscribe, rate and review today's show. And join us again next week for the Friday Happy Hour with Annmarie Kelly.